Hello and welcome to another Dolphin Financial Radio Show. My name is Dan Wendell. I am the host of today's show on the new Secure Act 2.0. This is known as the Securing a Strong Retirement Act of 2021. It just passed the House Ways and Means Committee in May of 2021. Will it go all the way through Congress? Will the president sign it? Will it become the Secure Act 2.0? To help me talk about that, I'm going to bring in my trusty co-host, Tony Shore. There he is not in his dungeon anymore. They let you out. Your wife let you out of the dungeon.
I'm in an actual recording studio, Dan, today. I'm not in the home studio.
Excellent.
I'm at the office. A little shaky here, but we're getting things set back up.
I'll tell you what. The Secure Act 2.0 is what we're calling this, or what the world is calling this. It's the Securing a Strong Retirement Act. I'll put it up on the screen here.
Oh, I thought when you said Secure Act, I just pictured zip ties and bungees and,
Because you work in your basement. That's the problem. So, this is a transition period for you right now. You're not in a full studio. You're halfway there. Just like this, what we're going to talk about today. It's passed the House and Ways and Means Committee, so it's not fully enacted yet. But I have a feeling most of these things are going to get passed. I read the report. It's an 11-page report, so I'm going to give a summary. Wow. I'm going to boil it down to 10 key points that I think we're going to see.
Because I didn't take the time to read it, Dan.
I know you didn't. I know. But then again, you're not here for your knowledge. You're here for the eye candy for our listeners. So
yeah, I mean this doesn't just happen, Dan. I mean,
Yeah, so we're gonna try and get the green screen and the green face going for you, so that'll help. But sure. Okay, so the House Ways and Means Committee. This is the newest and latest, greatest. May of 2021. What's going on, Tony? So I want to talk about it, and I'm going to go through 10 points, so we'll get right to it. And I'm going to start with the one change that I think is going to have the biggest impact. Now, remember, it says Retirement Act, so this is a retirement show. Oh, look at you, Tony.
Well, I thought
for the people listening and not watching, you don't get the beauty of seeing Tony turn into a brick house right now.
I'm a brick house. When you say secure, what could be more secure than a brick wall? And so I thought I'd turn my entire body. I wore blue, and I'm using the blue screen setting, so my entire body is a brick wall right now.
But for me, not much changes because I feel like I'm talking to a brick wall every week anyway. Okay, here we go.
But bump. Wish I had my sound effects at the ready.
So here's what I think is going to have the biggest impact on our retirement in this country. So we got to remember the point of this act, the Secure Act from last year, and this act that's going to hopefully be passed soon, is to improve the retirement situation in our country because there is some problems, which we've talked about for the past 5-6 years. All right.
Right. Exactly.
So the number one thing that I think is going to have the biggest impact, not immediate, but long-term, is the expanding of auto enrollment into retirement plans. So what they are doing is the government is going to have 401ks, 403bs, retirement plans, employer-sponsored, have an automatic enrollment for all employees of at least 3% of their salary, no more than 10%. So it's going to start at 3%. You start a new job, they're going to automatically put 3% of your salary into the 401k.
Yep. A lot of companies are already doing that.
Right. And so now they're going to make it mandatory, and they're going to have it every year increase by 1% up to 10. So if you do nothing, which is what most people do anyway, right? That person comes in, they have a lunch. You're like, all right, give me the free ham sandwich.
Yeah, most people are, what's for lunch? That's the question.
Right, what's for lunch? I'm not listening to anything anyone's saying. I'm not buying anything, right? They think there's some sort of gotcha. But anyway.
Right.
If they don't do anything, they're going to be 3% in, and then 7 years down the road, they're going to be at 10% of their salary going in, which is great. So I think this is going to be
that's good.
And you could opt out. So it's not like you're required. The government's not forcing it, but they're putting the default as let's default to savings. So I think this is going to have the biggest long-term impact because what do we always say about retirement planning. It's best to start young,
Yep.
first job. So
if only I woulda.
Right. If only I would have,
Yeah.
put more on that horse.
I say
in
that all the
seventh
time.
race.
I did not opt to invest in my 401k with my first 2 or maybe 12 jobs that I had, Dan. So we're
Right.
paying, as you know, I'm playing a little bit of catch up.
Right. So we'll get to how things are going to change for you, because there's
Okay.
some changes to catch up. Okay.
Sure.
So the next point, number 2, in this securing a strong retirement act, Secure Act 2.0, they're going to increase the credit given to small businesses, which is up to 50 employees, small business, to pay for the start of retirement plans. Right now, they let you go. I forget what the exact number is. I think they're going to go up to $1,000 per employee that you can write off, because there's administrative costs to opening a retirement plan.
Oh, sure.
Or a pension
Yeah.
plan. So
it costs the company money.
Right. And so the government's going to let you write off 100% of it up to a limit as opposed to 50%. So
Wow,
I think
see,
that's good.
awesome.
So they're trying to get smaller businesses getting people doing it, and then they're going to try and get auto enrollment. So they're really thinking, hey, how do we get, I'm not a big fan of government overreach, but these two I don't mind so far. Anytime they give credits to small businesses, I love it. All right.
Yeah.
I just wish they would just take less from small businesses to begin with, but that's another story.
Sure.
Okay, number 3, Tony. Here's a biggie. This is a biggie, popular one. The RMD, required minimum distribution age, is 72. It used to be 70 and a half, which I absolutely hated because I'm doing the math. All right, you have to be born if I was born in November, is that when.
Yeah,
So,
70 and a half. They put the half in there to make the math more complicated.
Right,
That's
just to
the way I
confuse
always
people.
look at it. Yeah.
It's to weed out the bad financial advisors. So they now raised it to 72 in the last Secure Act. So now the new one is they're raising it to 75.
Okay.
Aha. So how they're going to do
they're
that?
raising it again. They just raised it to 72
Right.
like a year
Right.
ago.
So this means at age 72 is when you are required to take distributions from your IRA or retirement plans if you're retired. Or even if you're not retired, if you're, IRA, you don't have to take from your 401k if you're still working. But if you're retired, your 401k, your IRA, you have to take money out at 72. They're changing that. So in 2022, it's going to be 73. And then all the way in 2032, it's going to be 75.
Wow.
So by the time you're 40, Tony, it'll be 75.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome, Dan. Thanks.
So
yeah.
my point on this is,
young.
they're just basically kicking the can. I don't know if this is a good thing for the government to do because they're not going to get the government revenue, because when you take money out of an IRA, you pay taxes. So
Right.
people are going to withhold it more, and they need tax money right now for all the spending we're doing. But
yeah, so that's a little counterintuitive in one sense for the government, but
Right.
for people who are living longer and don't want to take RMDs.
Right. This is appeasing them. But who are these people? They're typically rich people, right? And people that don't need the money, right? If you're taking an RMD at 70 and instead of 72 and you're like, "Oh, I don't mind." It's because you need the money,
Right.
Or you want to take some out to put into a Roth, to convert, something like that. So it's not a huge deal. To me, not a big deal.
Yeah, this one's kind of dumb to me. I think it's counterintuitive, but whatever.
Right. It works. It's there. But here's a good one, Tony. The RMD excise tax, a.k.a. the penalty, half, 50%.
50%.
So if you
missed an
forgot
RMD.
Yeah, if you forgot your RMD, you pay a 50% excise tax, a.k.a. penalty.
That's huge.
For whatever you were supposed to take out, and then they make you take it out. So they changed this. They didn't change it. They're planning, part of this new one, 2.0, is they want to lower that to 25%, which I'm a fan of.
Yes, huge fan of that.
You notice on here I put also to 10%. What they're doing, which I'm also a fan of, is if you realize the mistake and you correct it, you take corrective action early, and they didn't define that just yet, what early means, in a short amount of time.
Sure.
Then the penalty is only 10%. So it's not as severe, I should say.
Yeah, it should be that to begin with. I mean, that's crazy. The 50% was just...
They just wanted their people to not miss this. And that's why the 70 and a half was a big number, because you didn't want to miss it. You just
Right.
didn't, because the penalty was severe. But hey, I still don't like a 10% penalty, so you're not going to miss it. But you have more time to think about it now. 72. So they're making some changes to, and those are the big numbers. Those are the big popular ones that people think about. But I think the forced auto enrollment, not the forced the auto enrollment by default is still going to be the number one thing. Here's another thing that I think will apply to you, and it's, I think, a good change as well, and that's the IRA catch-up limit. So if you, there's limits to what you can add to an IRA.
Right.
It's $6,000 a year. Once you're over 50, they add 1,000, and it's always been just 1,000 extra. Didn't matter what year. They're now going to index that to inflation. So again, we did our last show on inflation.
Yeah.
So what's the inflation number? We don't know, but it's going to go up. So it won't be always just 1,000. And what they've also done is they're planning. Well, they haven't done this yet. I keep saying that. This is what they're proposing for the next rule. Is they're going to raise the maximum contribution that you can add at age 62 to 10,000. So right now it's 7.
That's awesome.
So it allows you to play a little bit of catch up at 62, 63, 64, but you can't at 65. I don't know why. They don't want to just allow you to go up all the way. Why not 65? I don't know what their logic is there, but whatever.
They want to stop short of what they consider the first year that most people should consider retiring or take Medicare and Social Security and all that is typically 65, 66.
Right. So Medicare isn't 65, but your full retirement age isn't 65. It's 66. So why?
Or
67. So
for us youngins.
Right. For the youngins. So why not let me, if I can't take my full retirement age, why not let me have a catch up through that point at least? It just,
that's a good point.
Who makes these rules? It's the House Ways and Means, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I wish they would do something. But I mean,
yeah, this one's interesting to me. Increasing the catch-up limits is a good thing. It's just the way they're doing it. The max, just put a max and say, hey.
Why put a max? I should be able to put whatever I want into my IRA. Just if I want to put my entire salary into an IRA because I'm going to live off whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Why do they have why do they limit what you can put in an IRA? Because of the tax benefits.
They want their tax revenue now. They want
the tax revenue now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but hey, at least this is a positive change. It's not the greatest, but maybe they'll figure that out.
Right.
Here's an interesting one, Tony.
Okay.
Right now, if your employer offers a 401k match, I always say, do the match. Do the match. It's free money, right? But some people say, I can't do the match. I don't have the money. All right, I'd rather you pay off a high interest credit card than do the match. Well, maybe not. It's a close one, right? We had that discussion.
Yeah,
before.
It's free money. I mean,
right.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this, and from what you've told me, Dan, I think that there's no circumstance where you don't put in enough to get the full match. I mean, you figure out a way to live on less, and it's not usually that much less because it's pre-tax going in. So, and you don't miss what you never had. So your budget is based on your take home. And so this is not part of your take home. This is going to that. So
right.
I want to take as much of my employer's money as possible, Dan.
That's right. They're going to give it to you. You don't.
Yeah.
It's not your money. It's an extra
part of your benefits. Why would you say, no, I don't want, it's really, I consider it part of my salary and I wouldn't turn it down.
And then you have the auto enrollment, so you won't miss it. So if it's 3% and they match 3%, you're getting 6% and you didn't even do anything. Right.
Right.
So, but in the case where someone's drowning in debt, and they can't make mortgage payments or something, that's when you say, I don't care about the company match. I don't have a house, or I'm paying 30% interest on my credit card. Then I look at stopping the match, at least stopping it, getting out of debt, and then going back. But here's the new rule that they're trying to implement. You can't make a payment into your 401k, but you're paying student loan interest. They're going to use the student loan payment as your match. So if you put $1,000 toward a student loan but didn't put any in the 401k, the company could still match the $1,000 because you added it to a student loan debt.
Interesting.
So
that one, I question the ability to enforce or how that's going to be applied. I mean, how is
well,
that
you're going to have to do some statements, because right now you can write off student loan interest with your taxes. So there's forms for that.
Yeah.
So it's going to probably be, all right, share that form with the company. And so they're going to contribute to your IRA, 401k, and then they'll be able to write it off, and you'll be able to get it without actually putting money in a 401k.
But I mean, the company can say, hey, we don't want to give him a match if he's not putting money into this account.
Well, the company doesn't. The company wants to help the employee typically. So it's just that the employee's not putting the money in. So there's going to be a little bit of an accounting thing there.
Do you, Dan? Do you want to help your co-host?
Moving on to the next one. I think it's an interesting one. I like that because a lot of people say I can't contribute to a 401k because I got this ridiculous student loan. Help me out here.
Yeah, no, that's a really good one. Believe me, I have two. I'm dealing with college for two of my kids. So yes,
right.
Good
so why wouldn't you? You just got done saying 401k match over all else. Student loans, you can't default on those. You can't get rid of those. So I think that's a good. I like the idea. Let's see if it goes anywhere. Speaking of employer matches, right now the employees cannot match into a Roth 401k. They can only match into a traditional 401k. So they want to allow for Roth contributions.
Yeah, that would be
so you
great.
could say, I'd like you to match into my Roth. Now you can pay taxes, but hey, it's still free money because it's not your money going in. It's
right. Plus, it grows tax free, and you pull it out tax free.
I'm surprised the government's doing this because the Roth is the anti-government.
It is. I'm surprised that the IRS ever allowed the Roth that they came up with.
Right. And you don't have to take RMDs from a Roth, which is nice too. And it passes to the kids, the grandkids, tax free.
So,
yeah. And the growth tax free. So Roth,
planning.
I like this one. I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on retirement.
No.
It's going to benefit the people because most people want the 401k contribution for the tax write-off. Right. They don't want to pay taxes on it. So they have to pay taxes on a Roth contribution. So it's going to help the upper middle people. But hey, you give red meat to everybody, right? Okay. 3 more.
All right.
This is an interesting one. I mean, there's a lot of things in this. I just picked out the ones I thought were the most impactful. This one maybe not the most impactful, but I wanted to bring this up. They're going to create a national lost and found for retirement savings. So I deal with a lot of people that used to work. Hey, I had a job in the 70s at a hospital. I think they gave me a pension. I don't even know. I only worked there for 7 years. And they forget about it. That company goes under, a new company takes it over. That company goes under, and it's lost in the shuffle. And they've forgotten that they even have this. I'm not joking, Tony. I find at least one a year of people I talk with, I find them a retirement plan they didn't know they had.
Found money. Yeah.
Found money. And it's not insignificant.
Yeah. Found money is great. Lost money is not good. But if you're financial advisor, like I know that's something you do. And actually, I have to admit, I had that situation happen. I worked for a company for 10 years. Fine. Then it got bought out. I worked for that company for another 5.5 years. And then I moved to my current job, producing and co-hosting shows. And here's the deal. I had the 401k from the company that bought my old company out, but there was a separate what I didn't realize or remember, there was a separate 401k with that company for 10 years that I was no longer, I don't know why, I didn't get statements from it anymore. And then my wife actually said, hey, this isn't very big. You should have more money in there than that. And we started looking into it, and she found remember it was I thought it was a Prudential or, whatever the company name is. We used to get statements from that company, and we don't have any of those here. So I dug around and found one. I made some calls and called the old owner of the old company and got information from him. And sure enough, that's where all my money, 401k money went.
Right. And that process of finding out who you're lucky you knew the old owner, it's just a nightmare. So they're creating a national lost and found for this purpose, and they're going to require the 401k companies, the retirement plans, to use some sort of system to keep track of it, and it's going to be a database. That's
really good. Yeah. I mean, there are already sites online now, not necessarily for 401ks, but get money that you're owed by the government or things like that, insurance. And I went through that and also I got $195 or $295 from when I used to live in Nashville. Somebody told me about that site here in the office, and I'm like, I don't know, is this a scam? And I looked into it, and then I looked it up I went to the government website because I didn't want to just trust the links through the site. And sure enough, got a check in the mail like 6 weeks later. I got a check in the mail. And it's money. I still to this day, no idea. It was some
paper route. It was your paper route.
Yeah, it was the health. It was something to do with health insurance or health benefits.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, the next one, this one, you don't fall asleep. They made some changes to annuities. So
you use the A word. How many listeners did we just lose?
Right. Did you see the drop off?
Yeah. Well, anytime you mention annuities or the word budget, usually people are like, click, change the channel.
Now, these are pretty interesting.
Is the Voice on right now? Can I watch The Voice? Or isn't Joe Rogan doing a podcast right now? What's going on?
Well, they're still laughing at when you said, my wife looked at it and said it wasn't that big. They didn't realize what you were talking about. You were talking about your 401k.
Oh my gosh, you worked a
all right,
joke,
so,
Dan.
All right, annuities. So they changed they removed the RMDs for annuities. So if you have an annuity in an IRA and you're holding on to it for income down the road, say you have a income rider that's growing or a death benefit that's growing, you don't want to touch it. And by taking money out, you're going to kind of destroy that growth in the future. But if it's in an IRA and you're required to take money out, then you're forced to. So they're not very friendly. So they're making annuities RMD friendly. This is an interesting part. It's a minute detail, but it's useful for annuity design. There you go. Falling asleep again. Now, QLAC. QLAC. What's the correct term for QLAC? Qualifying longevity annuity contracts. So these were new about maybe 5-6 years ago, I think, and it allows you to put money aside from an IRA to be used in your 70s, late 80s, late 70s, 80s, 90s, and you don't have to touch them. You don't have to take your RMDs from them because you're going to let it grow and then you'll take it later in life. And there was a limit as to how much you could put in there. Now they've eliminated that limit so that you can put more of your IRA into that, defer the taxes until later in life. So they're trying to improve longevity planning for retirement, which is great. And they also they're trying to add a spousal rights of survival into those. So you can have it for your spouse, which was not allowed. So QLACs are improving. Okay. And then finally, this was an interesting one, variable annuities.
Yes.
A lot of teachers and you don't like them. One of the problems is that you can only buy mutual funds in them, so they're expensive. They want to allow ETFs, which are cheaper versions of basket of stocks, in variable annuities, and they couldn't in the past because ETFs didn't exist when they created the law. So now that ETFs exist, they can change the law for allow variable annuities to include them. What you'll probably see is if this happens, variable annuity pricing fees will go down, making them more attractive.
For
electronically traded funds.
Electronically traded funds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's it on the annuities part. Once that passes, we'll do a whole show on it while you sleep.
Yes.
Okay. The last one, hardship distributions. So right now, if you take IRA withdrawal before 59 and a half, you get hit with a 10% penalty for early withdrawal. And there's certain hardship distributions that allow you to take money out. And it's always had to be the employer approved. Now, what they've done, because of COVID, they've seen this worked. I don't know if it worked, but they're saying it worked, is that you're going to allow the employee to self-certify. Say, yes, I'm having a hardship. Scout's honor, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're changing that so that allows for less oversight and more flexibility for individuals to self-report. And they also added a domestic abuse survivor rule that allows a survivor of domestic abuse to get out of Dodge, and they need money, and they usually don't have any because it's a nightmare situation. They can take from their IRA and not get hit with a penalty up to $10,000. Yeah. So that's a pretty good rule.
That is a good rule, and that's an interesting one. I mean, everybody defines hardship differently, and obviously, I missed breakfast this morning. To me, that's a hardship.
Yeah, I'd say so. And working with you is a hardship, but it's a choice. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to have the same rules. So it's not like they're saying, hey, whatever you feel that day. It's you're going to say, and you're going to self-certify that you've met those rules.
Sure.
All right.
Well, Dan, I mean, I like to give you a hard time. I'm actually going easy on you. It shouldn't be that much of a hardship.
Yeah, that's because you're not in your mom's basement anymore today. You're at the office, so you feel emboldened to start getting snippy.
Sure.
Okay. So to conclude, so that these changes, again, are from the government. They're trying to promote retirement savings, improve the retirement situation in our country. The loss of pensions, or the dinosaur the pensions have become.
Yep.
They're trying to figure out a way to get people to be more assertive, give them more options and rules to allow for improved retirement savings. They didn't talk about Social Security, which is the backbone of retirement savings. That's a separate discussion. So people are already relying on the government through Social Security. They're trying to beef it up by kind of prodding and pushing people toward retirement savings and reducing a little restrictions. As always, my take is don't rely on the government, rely on yourself. Whenever the government gets involved in things, it kind of goes south. So I think these things are good in general, but I think the government's making some strides to improve, and I like that. I'm always dubious, but again, be proactive. Think about your retirement. Start planning ahead when you're young. Don't wait until the day you retire to figure things out. Plan ahead, and that's what I'm all about. So,
that's great.
Tony, thank you for a good show. Thanks for
great show today.
And next week we'll probably be in a better studio for you, right? We'll have some improvements.
I'm hoping we improve this area here.
The lighting will be better. I could see your smiling face, and we can work on that brick house. Smoke screen. I mean green screen. So
yeah, we'll fix the wobbly camera.
Yeah. So
oh my goodness.
So maybe by the time you fix your wobbly camera, they'll have passed the Securing a Strong Retirement Act.
Yeah.
And 2.0 will become reality. And then we can go in depth in some of these and get into more specific strategies. But thanks for a good show, everybody. Yeah. Anytime you need to talk to me, the number 888-508-5935. And we'll catch you next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Wendell nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.